This is the GPL podcast from GopherPuckLive.com. This podcast is sponsored by Jerry Peters and First Class Mortgage. Our expertise, your peace of mind. Visit us at firstclassmortgage.com. Now let's start the show with your hosts, Jupiter and Vigo. Good evening and welcome to the GPL podcast, episode number 213. Well, Vigs, we had a week off recently. It was a little slow, but let's get back at it, huh?
Yeah, I'm sure Bob Motzko would have preferred his team to be playing. He wants those 8 teams in the Big Ten. I thought during availability, he said maybe there'd be an announcement today, sarcastically, unfortunately. But
Illinois? Isn't Illinois ready to go?
Yeah, I don't think they're quite ready right now, especially in this point of the pandemic. They are not ready to invest in a hockey program, but they could sure use an 8th team so we don't have situations like this.
Well, one thing that's interesting is at this time of year, Vigs, the StarTribune kind of shifts from football over to hockey when it comes to the University of Minnesota. And what does that mean? That means Randy Johnson, one of the big writers at the StarTribune, gets to start covering hockey, and he's joining us tonight. Randy, nice to have you back on the show.
Thanks. It's always been fun coming on this. I remember last year. It was a good time.
Well, like I said, January comes and all of a sudden you get shifted from Gopher football and Vikings, and all of a sudden you're covering Gopher hockey again.
Yep. Yeah. It's I missed out on this fall. There were some games I wish I could have been at, but when you're on the road a bit for those Big Ten games, and then that football beat pretty big lift. It's a 6-7 day a week grind, so it's a little tough to get the hockey shoehorned in there, but always kept an eye on it at least.
Well, we've had fun with you over the years, and it's nice to have you back on the show. Vigs, it was kind of an interesting weekend for the Big Ten while the Gophers weren't playing. We had Penn State get the first upset of a series in Big Ten history on the road. We had Michigan take care of Michigan State. Notre Dame went to 3 with Wisconsin, but it was a pretty fun weekend.
Yeah, it was kind of amazing to me. We're 9 years into this now with the Big Ten. That's the first time a road team has pulled out a series.
Yes.
I feel like Minnesota was hoping when they were scheduled to go to Penn State that they were going to be the first team to pull off that road victory. And it's just a difficult test, I think, to go on the road at this time of year and play a team who's been better than you for the whole year. And so for Penn State to pull that off, hats off to them. I don't know if Ohio State quite got the goaltending down the stretch that they did early in the year. They really tanked themselves pretty much
they
out of
really
the tournament. They played so well early in the year, and all of a sudden, they lose Lori to injury, and so that really hurt their blue line and scoring. And then Dobish, didn't quite match what he put up earlier in the year. And those two are up for awards in the Big Ten, but they didn't really finish particularly strong for them. Poor Cappy.
Well, I'm gonna blame you or congratulate you for that, because it was once Randy came on, started covering the team full time, is when Ohio State just went like this. So you're going to take credit, right, Randy? I
might as well. I X the Buckeyes.
They have had quite the fall, though. I mean, they got swept out the end of the season to the end of their season, and then they struggle against Penn State. Now it's looking, at 15, they need to have 0 upsets to have any chance, Randy.
Yeah, I was looking at the pairwise probability matrix, and it has them at 34% making the tournament. So it's they're going to need the chalk in Hockey East, and
that seems high to me.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you that. Yes,
you know what I mean. I mean, 34% seems high to me. Maybe I'm crazy, but I don't think their odds are that good. But apparently the Monte Carlo simulations put it that high.
I've pretty much written them off. Their season's done. All it takes is a couple other even victories by teams to mess with the pairwise just a little bit, Vigs, I mean, couldn't even just, they lost to Penn State, just Minnesota beating them. Could that hurt Ohio State?
I don't think it's going to hurt them that much in the Big Ten. I think the only things that can really hurt them are, a weird ECAC team making it or a weird WCHA team making it. And those are actually somewhat unlikely, at least in the WCHA. I have to think Minnesota State's a heavy favorite to get through their league. The NCHC results not really going to matter to them. I have a hard time seeing Penn State come out of the Big Ten, having to beat Minnesota and then either Michigan or Notre Dame. So, maybe the margins are bigger than we initially think on the surface. And now that we talk about it, there's a chance. 1-3, chip in a chair.
Well, and then tonight, Boston College wins in overtime against New Hampshire. So there might not be totally out of the pit. They'd have to win their tournament to get in, but that's a team with talent.
But that's all it takes, Viggs. It's just one team.
That's one in this case, not like 8 that Minnesota Duluth needed to have their bid get awarded, Minnesota to be out. So, they've got more odds than that. So,
and then Randy over in the state of Michigan just ended Michigan State season. Michigan State is now over playoffs in the Big Ten in its 9th season. And I guess we did have part of an 8th season playoff, but they are over.
That's interesting. That's tough to accomplish, I would say.
It is. You would think they would get at least a win here somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's just, well, we've talked about it, Viggs. Will they do anything? Cole should be in trouble, but is anything going to happen?
It's challenging because it doesn't seem like Michigan State has invested much into their hockey program. So maybe eyes aren't there.
They're redoing the arena. They're updating the arena.
They are. And Danton Cole's a big reason they're able to do that because he's been a big fundraiser for that project. So maybe that outweighs the performance on the ice. Yeah. And maybe Danton is trying to tell his bosses, he's like, look, I raise the money to get this in place. Give me a chance to recruit to my new facilities because the facilities in the Big Ten are all pretty good and Michigan State's been at the bottom. Maybe this gives them a little bit more weight in recruiting battles and maybe they'll find an identity. I feel like we've been talking about this with a couple of our last guests. What is the identity of Michigan State? And, Danton Cole's got to figure that out pretty quickly.
And on the flip side, Randy, Michigan kind of got it back rolling after getting swept by Notre Dame the week before.
Yeah, they're the talent's going to come through with that program sooner or later. So yeah, I thought the Notre Dame series was kind of one that just got away from them. But they're going to have a say in this.
Yes, they will.
It's crazy to me how that series has gone this year with Michigan and Notre Dame because Notre Dame is kind of kryptonite for talented teams.
Yeah, they had the 2 overtime victories in Yost, and then they swept them at the end of the season. And now they head to Yost again, Viggs. It'll be interesting. We're going to get into that in a bit, but to get there, Notre Dame needed a 3rd game against Wisconsin, Viggs, and Wisconsin actually showed up against Notre Dame.
They did. I thought they played the right game plan that they needed to. Jared Moe played well in nets for them and basically stole them a game on Friday and just not enough to pull off the upset in the series. But that is the team that we kind of thought Wisconsin could be. So that was probably the best series of the 3.
So we're giggling for those of you listening to the show later on. Randy had a pet just pop up behind him.
That would be Rusty.
Rusty the cat?
There's Tabby, who decided to video bomb me here.
That's what I love about this, this new era of media, people Zooming, people doing this. Yeah. We all get to see a little bit of people's lives that we never saw before. And there that is great television right there. Yes. I love that. My dog used to lay behind us while we do the podcast, the entire show. She's unfortunately no longer with us, but she did that for many years. So yes, Wisconsin did just make it look a little better, Viggs, but is Granato still in trouble? I know that we heard he's not, but they got to look at something here.
Yeah, I don't think he's really recruited very well for a program long term at Wisconsin. And I kind of echo some of the messages we hear. You want to be a successful college program. You're not just developing talent. You can do both. You do want to have talent come to your program. Like Logan Cooley picked Minnesota over Notre Dame and Penn State because he thought that Minnesota was the best place to develop his talent. You know, he goes to a place like Notre Dame, he's going to learn how to play defense. He's probably going to sit behind players who play the Jeff Jackson system. He goes to Penn State, he's going to be playing a system that no one in the NHL would be playing. And it probably would set him back. I mean, you look at Penn State players who have gone on to pro hockey. They've had a couple guys lately like Smirnoff and Barrett who have flashed some ability, but they have not made it at the pro level. And maybe it's because their development got stunted by playing this unique system of funneling pucks to the net all over the place and sending guys in transition, whereas Minnesota plays this ground game possession and fast transition. You know, that's NHL hockey right now is get in transition and then possess the puck in the offensive zone. So, you know, Stiley, you got to have that pro development, but to win, you have to have the right roster. And Wisconsin has not. So I would not be surprised if they make a move.
Interesting. Because, you know, we kind of saw Alvarez keep things the way they were for a little too long in the previous coach there in Wisconsin, Randy. But Alvarez is not there anymore. So maybe they're making decisions a little differently.
Yeah, Chris McIntosh, the AD now. That's interesting to see how he handles things. I'm sure the Barry Alvarez influence is still there. So it might take him a while to, you know, maybe put his stamp on the program. I'm guessing they keep him for this year at least. I'm you know, I don't have any inside intel or anything, but I would think last year bought him a little bit of time.
And Viggs is maybe it's a thing where they fire some assistant coaches like they did previously.
Yeah, it could work that way, but I just think the message has to be sent to the coach that, hey, we're not okay with just being good once every 5 years. There needs to be consistency there. You know, we've seen ticket sales drop off at Wisconsin a little bit, and they have a big building to fill, and there's a lot of fans there, and you know, eyes are going to be paid.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see. So if you're watching us live or listening, if you have any questions for us, just go on to YouTube and jump in the chat and ask questions. We're more than happy to answer them. I know Viggs, try to keep an eye on Twitter for me in case we have some good Twitter questions. We're not getting those as much because a lot of people are watching us live on YouTube now, so it's a little different these days. Little different. But first, before we get to the next part, we need to hear from our sponsor.
Hey fellow GPLers, Jerry Peters here from First Class Mortgage. Have you refinanced your home in the last 12 months? If you haven't, chances are you should. Record low interest rates and skyrocketing home values make this the perfect time to remove monthly PMI while improving your interest rate at the same time. You can also use the equity in your home to finance those home improvement projects. Or you can consolidate high interest rate credit cards into one new low monthly payment. To hear more, call or text me today at 612-940-3291. You can email me at jerry@firstclasscorp.com. Or you could go to firstclassmortgage.com to fill out a free online application. Mention the GPL podcast and receive a $300 closing cost credit. Some restrictions do apply. First Class Mortgage's NMLS number is 322842-480200. This is not an agreement to lock into an interest rate under Minnesota law. First Class Mortgage is an equal housing lender.
And of course, we thank Jerry for sponsoring the GPL podcast. All right. I know I saw this one question earlier that he may not have known he was asking, but Steve Larson was asking this, Viggs. I know you're not quite up on the pairwise as you wanted to be, but how many wins do we need to be a number one seed in the regionals?
I tend to think that the way Minnesota stays a number one seed is for a team like Western Michigan or North Dakota to jump them. I think if Minnesota wins out, they keep a number 1 seed. But if they are kind of on this bubble, it's more about what happens to those NCHC teams than I think what happens to Minnesota. 1 win they should be in, but there's a chance those teams could jump them if Denver and Western and North Dakota, finish to the top of their league. I think that's the biggest factor.
All right. There you go. It's going to be fun no matter what. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, Randy, it's you've been covering the team for quite a few years now, but I guess you haven't really been around the team where they've had this much expectations, have you?
Well, last year there were some pretty good expectations on them. Maybe not as much as this year because they had such a good regular season last year. But yeah, it's Minnesota hockey. There should be some high expectations every year. And this is a year where they came back with a ton of talent. They lost some, but they returned a lot and some really good newcomers in the program.
I see Steve in the chat. It says that the Gophers went out. There's no way they're not a number 1 seed. So,
I mean, if they get Michigan and they beat them, or if they get Notre Dame and beat them, that's going to help their pairwise position. If they drop a game and things happen in other leagues, that's a way that they could drop down.
Ooh, David's got a nice question for us here. Why have the Gophers played so much better since LaFontaine left? And how can Close not be the Big Ten goalie of the year? I'm going to throw that at you, Randy. I mean, since you've come on, LaFontaine left. We had all these injuries, and Close has been the goalie. What's the secret there, Randy?
I would just say it's a combination of things. I think the team matured after Christmas. Basically, these freshmen became a lot better players. They took their lumps a bit in the first half of the year. I think Close is getting, from what I can tell, I didn't see a lot of the first half, but he's getting better play in front of him than maybe LaFontaine had. And I think he's playing better, just playing flat out better than Jack did.
I think.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Biggs.
The biggest thing is Close has been very good on the first shot. The issue that was kind of happening with LaFontaine was he was letting in a soft goal about once a weekend, and it was in the first period, and it would have the team on their heels a little bit, and then you had a blue line core that was trying to force offense, and it was just kind of a whirlpool effect to them where they would just kind of lose their game, and then they'd be chasing, and it wasn't a good situation. They were able to bounce back and play better on Saturday nights when that happened, but I think that first shot confidence that Close is displaying, he's a really aggressive goalie. He reads the play really well, and he's been solid. He hasn't had any holes. Especially the last Penn State series, he was really good on those first shots.
And Biggs, I kind of like what Randy was saying, Biggs, there is that, the team has played better in front of them. They kind of did buckle down and say, okay, guys, we need to buckle down. That's essentially what they did.
Yeah, that's I was going to ask you that. Did they realize that, hey, before Jack probably had you could count on you, they thought they could count on him pretty well, and then maybe we got to work a little harder with Justin there, and we got to help him out a little bit more.
Well, you definitely did that blue line. They were taking more chances. Yeah. They weren't protecting things as much. This team has been much better at playing the percentages in the second half, not jumping pucks at the offensive blue line, not getting into the rush too quickly, making sure that the rush was actually happening before jumping into it so they weren't caught in transition. So I think, both sides of that coin have played a factor here.
Okay, Steve Larson, any word on Lucius? And I think we have heard some word there, Randy. It's not looking good.
He's out this weekend, Bob said. Yeah, he's out for this game. So we'll see what happens next week if they're playing.
Viggs, you kind of have a little grin on your face.
Well, I think, Lucius is playing this very safe, and that's the situation we're dealing with him right now. It's nothing severe that people have been asking about. It's something that's somewhat minor. He's just being extra cautious with it. He's had some injury issues like this in the past, and they're just trying to make sure it's not going to be a long-term thing.
And Viggs, the one thing, though, is that I do concern if it's not a big deal, he's still not playing. and to be just all of a sudden thrown in, like say against a Michigan or in an NCAA tournament, I'm sorry, he's going to have some rust.
And if they keep winning, can you really put him in a lineup?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I had this discussion with some people after a game a couple weeks ago. You know, he is a very talented player. He's scored at every level he's scored at. But if you have a team that's winning and doesn't need this kind of a talent injection into it, would you mess with it? So I know he's being cautious. I know that's the plan, but I think as a staff, you can't just do that because he's talented. We talked about the Wisconsin thing. You're developing talent, but you also need to win. And the players who have sacrificed by coming back from the Olympics, who passed up pro opportunities, you're doing them a disservice if you put someone in who's going to have to come up to speed and take somebody's spot who is pulling on the rope. So that's a decision they're going to have to make. I think this was a weekend where if he was ready to play or wanted to be ready to play, he had to be in the lineup because it's too late after this. You're not going to put him in against Michigan. Maybe if they play Notre Dame in the final, there's more room for that, but not if it's Michigan, then the first round.
Well, let's talk about that. Notre Dame and Michigan. Randy, Notre Dame has had Michigan's number this year, but obviously it is a one-game deal. I do not know what to expect with those two teams.
I think Michigan's going to find a way.
Okay.
You know, the old saying is it's tough to beat teams 3 times in a season. It's got to be really tough to beat teams 5 times. A team 5 times in a season, and it's at Yost. I just think Michigan's going to figure out a way. I mean, you know, of course, you know, Notre Dame. You know, they get a lead, they go into that boa constrictor mode and just suck the life out of an opponent's offense. So, I think Michigan's going to find a way.
But you know, Viggs, it could be in Michigan's head a little bit, couldn't it?
Well, it could be, and it could be a style where it's a one-game shot. And if they fall behind, Notre Dame's pretty good at clamping things down. You know, Jeff Jackson's a pretty good coach. He's done this for a long time. It's not like he doesn't know their identity. And if they get good goaltending, who knows what's going to happen? I love Michigan's talent. I love watching them play, but it's going to have to be decided on the ice. It's not going to be a cakewalk for them.
Who do you think wins the series, Viggs? Who's going to come out of there?
I think Michigan wins the one game shot. I just think their talent on the blue line has surprised me a little bit this year. I thought Luke Hughes was going to maybe struggle a little bit with his adjustment to college hockey. He has not struggled at all. 17 goals. That's amazing in this era of college hockey. I mean, he might be the best Hughes brother, which I don't think anyone expected really coming into this year. We thought he was going to be good, but maybe not the best. So it'll be interesting to see how they play. You know, if they're going to get some power play chances, that's a spot for them to shine. I'll be watching Matty Beniers very closely as he is, I think, maybe the likely Big Ten player of the year, but I think Ben Myers might be. Those are the two players I think when you look at it. Some people are saying Owen Power. I just don't think he's scored enough to deserve that kind of award. But Michigan's fun to watch. I'm hoping for a Michigan-Minnesota series.
Well, there you go. One little quick thing is Mel back the next year. We've been hearing a lot of little things in the background that Mel might not be safe, Viggs.
Yeah, and it's not. It's one of those
weird.
things. Yeah. When you're not honest and there's a trail of information that shows you're not honest, that's what gets you in trouble, I think, big time. And Mel might have dug a hole that he's not going to get out of. But we'll see. Michigan's got a lot of drama, as is, going on with their program that we've talked about in the past on this show. So we'll see. I don't hear good things about him coming back. So we'll see in the offseason.
So I'm assuming you're going with Michigan 2 there, Randy?
Yeah, to win that game. Yeah, I'm guessing the Wolverines pull that one off. Could be wrong. I'm not betting any money on it, but
Well, Randy, tell us about what you've been writing this week. I know it's a little Go for Hockey stuff. Was it just came out earlier today or yesterday? What
Yeah,
have you been writing about?
I finished off a blog. I usually do it earlier in the week. I just got busy with other stuff, and I finished off a blog. Wrote about the Gophers went down to Austin and had that inter squad scrimmage, which is kind of a neat deal for Bob and his team. Take him to his hometown, and then I did a little bit leftover stuff from the women's WCHA final face-off that I covered this past weekend, which incredibly good tournament. That championship game was something.
It was. I mean, the women had gave up a 2-0 lead. That's there must have been quite a bit of disappointment there.
Yeah, there was, but I think they're pretty, happy with the way they played. It was, didn't like losing the lead, but that was two very high-end teams going at it. One and 1A in the country, I'd say. I would not be surprised whatsoever if those two are meeting in the final in State College in a week and a half there.
And you'll be covering the women's game this weekend on Saturday
afternoon. I'll be covering the regional game. They have the winner of Harvard and Minnesota Duluth, which that is played Thursday night at Ritter. So yeah, it's kind of a neat little could have a neat little doubleheader if a hockey fan would want to do it on Saturday. Go to the women's game at 2. You can get in for $15, and then go to the men's game at 8. You can get in for $20. I mean, that's not bad. Then I also wrote about I did weekly bracketology, directing the NCAA men's field, and that type of stuff. So
I've never gotten into the bracketology stuff, Viggs. I've always been like, let's just wait.
Well, I think sometimes with the bracketology, it's so numbers focused that it's really going to be cut and dry, especially the way they've done it the last couple of years, where they kind of stick to the numbers unless there's a conference matchup in the first round or if there's a host involved. They haven't been shy about shipping teams out and not really focusing on attendance issues, which I probably agree with, because attendance isn't great at any venue unless the host team's there. So why mess with the integrity of the bracket unless you have to?
Yeah, you can't really disagree with that. And everyone's going east this year. I mean
every
just get used to
every region is east.
Well, yeah, but I see Denver hanging on to a number 1 seed. I think they might already have hung on to a number 1 seed. So they're going to be in Loveland. That means Minnesota, Mankato, everyone's going out east, unless you're a 2.
Yeah,
could you see him, Vegas, putting North Dakota in the Denver regional? They'd get fans showing up.
I think the North Dakota fans will probably travel wherever they put them.
Yeah.
I am just still pulling for North Dakota and Western Michigan to be in the same regional, just at the hope that we get a regional final between those two, because that would be true justice in college hockey.
We'll see. We'll have to see. But we've got this weekend, guys. And, of course, the other matchup is Penn State coming in to play Minnesota. Randy, Penn State was just swept by Minnesota late in the season. Not great for them. But they have gotten one of their few road victories this year at Mariucci.
Mm-hmm. That was very early. I think that
it was.
The Gophers team at that point of the year was a little different than what we have now. I think Penn State, I think they'll make a game of it, but I think the Gophers have the drive, and I think they're set up pretty well. The week off might be a little bit of a hiccup. Maybe there's a little rust to knock off in that first period, but I think the way they've been playing, I think they should take care of business at home.
It's interesting, Viggs. I saw this just the other day. Oscar Audio is in the transfer portal, but he's still on the team?
Yeah, that's a weird situation.
Yeah.
I don't think that's got to be sitting well with Guy Godowski based on seeing him interact with people in the past and having a player get in the portal at this time of year. maybe he was expecting it would all be over last weekend and he just couldn't wait to hit submit on that thing. But a little extra drama for the Nittany Lions this weekend. Audio has played a number of games for them this year and has looked okay, but I don't see him getting the net against Minnesota. So I will be interested to see if he's on the bench against Minnesota, to be honest. But again, goaltending depth is not something you can really mess with in college hockey, as we saw at Minnesota when LaFontaine left. There was a scramble to find a third goalie there. So got to be uncomfortable. It could be a long plane ride. They might send him commercial.
Oh, that's not very nice.
It reminds me of the time, I guess, Glenn Mason, they had a player misbehave at a bowl trip and sent him back on a bus from like El Paso.
Wow.
That is a great story where Glenn would threaten people. He's like, behave on the trip. We've got plane tickets out there, but you don't have to take the plane back.
Wow. Vigs, Penn State, playing for their lives. What do they need to do to beat Minnesota?
I think they've got to keep the pressure up. I think that's kind of their game, is getting pucks to net and flying guys out of the zone and keeping pressure. I think a key for them, don't miss the net wide. They like to shoot from everywhere. I think one of the keys for them is get those pucks on net or get them going off the end wall. Do not send it the other way and have to chase back and play defense after they've gotten their offensive possession. So we'll see if they're able to do that. I think they should probably focus on staying out of the box. Even though Minnesota's power play hasn't been maybe the most effective, it can be a real momentum changer for Minnesota to have those power play chances. And, I think they need to test close. He's been pretty steady for them, but he hasn't been in a playoff game. So they need to rack up the pressure there and keep it on.
And Randy, they did have some success against close as well.
Yep.
That Saturday night game at Penn State, they were up 3-0,
Yeah.
and we're looking pretty good at that time.
Yeah, it looked like your typical Gophers game out there.
Yes,
like at least one of the games they were going to take a several punches early and see if they could hang on or at least get back in it. But then Ben Myers leading the way, they flipped that game, and yeah, you can't count on it all the time, but I like this team's resilience to do stuff like that.
And that's the big difference this year, Vigs. That's something we haven't seen in the past 10 years. Resilience coming back. They just haven't had that.
Definitely not consistently. And if I was Penn State, I would probably develop some sort of checking line to go up against the Myers line, because Randy was right. I mean, that was the difference in that Saturday game, is that Ben Myers basically put the team on his back and got them back in the game, which is pretty amazing considering how long it took him to get from China back to that Happy Valley Pagula Ice Arena.
But does checking really work against the players like Nyes and Myers?
I think you can't let them I think you can't let them have long possessions in the offensive zone, because that's why they're so dangerous. You need to have players who can close in on them and keep them from getting pucks to the net and just clear the zone. Don't let them have a long sustained shift, and make someone like Sammy Walker beat you is probably my message if I was putting in together a game plan for Penn State.
Well, the interesting game about that, or the interesting part about that Saturday game at Penn State, Randy, was, yes, they gave up 3-0 lead. They did come back, and they actually outshot Penn State that game by quite a few, which is a rarity. So maybe it's that to the point where Minnesota knows how to play this kind of team a lot better.
I think so. I think that they've learned over the years. It seems like, and under Bob, they've had better success against Penn State. So I think they're getting used to playing that style when they have to.
Well, I think the biggest thing has been the defense. They've been better about getting back and handling pressure, because that's the thing that Penn State does, is you can't hide as a defenseman against them. They're going to put pressure on you. And this is probably the best blue line Minnesota's had in maybe 10, 15 years from top to bottom. And it's really a matchup that allows that to shine.
Well, let's do it then. Big weekend. Let's blow them out, Vigs. That's what I'm predicting. I'm predicting this is going to be a 5-1, 5-2 type of game. Minnesota. That's my prediction. What's yours, Vigs?
I think we see like a 4-2 game. I think it's going to be kind of tight early. Minnesota probably will have some rust that they'll have to fight through. And as much as they tried to do what they did in Austin with having that scrimmage and keeping things going, you know, that week off at this time of year, especially when coaches don't want to push their players during the week, it's going to take some time to get rid of that. I have been worried with the special teams play for Minnesota, at least on the power play. Penalty kill has been great. So I think a nice key for Minnesota would be aggressive this weekend and just take it to them and don't back down. So I think we'll see a 4-2 win for Minnesota, maybe a little tighter than you would want. I'm hoping that they have 8,000 fans in the building. I know ticket sales have been kind of going up a little bit, so we'll see what they can do. Yost already sold out in about 15 minutes, so we'll see what's going to happen at Marici. I hope those students come back from spring break and want to watch some hockey.
Okay, Randy, what is Rusty's pick for the game this weekend?
Rusty's pick for the game is 3-1, maybe 4-1 with an empty netter at the end.
All right. I like that. I'm just, you know, it's taken a while for me to get off that negativity bandwagon, I would say, Vigs. And really they've had to kind of show me this year, and they've really kind of, obviously they won 8 straight. They're going to make it 9 this weekend. So just keep rocking. Like you said, hopefully the fans show up. End of spring break, state high school tournament. Let's get a decent crowd at least, and then let's really build it up for the championship.
Vegas odds do have Minnesota at -300, Penn State +220. The over-under is 6, -125 for the over, -105 for the under. So I feel even better about my 4-2 call now after seeing that. Vegas sometimes knows what they're doing with this stuff.
Did they really, though? Come on. Did they really have people looking at college hockey?
They've got the lines up. They don't want to lose money. They didn't have lines up the last couple of weeks for some of the Minnesota games because obviously they knew Minnesota was going to be on a roll and just start knocking off everybody. So to even have a line is certainly something. They've got Michigan at -235, Notre Dame +180 in that game. So we'll see what happens there. I think that series might be a little closer than that.
Could be.
I found it interesting just doing some research with it. This is the first time the Gophers will have hosted a Big Ten semifinal. You know, with this format, since they went away from the first 4 years at the big arenas.
Yeah, that's what you should get when you win the season.
Yeah.
You know, the regular season Vigs. You finally get control your own destiny, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, typically you'd like the bye, you would think. You know, I talked about that going into the end of the season. I thought it was good for them, and getting Penn State is even better because you're playing a team that's probably not playing for a whole lot in terms of NCAA tournament hopes. So maybe you can end it real quick, like you were saying, and run up the score.
And for me, it's just I know Bob doesn't like it. He would have rather played, but they have been playing straight since the beginning of January, every weekend. They didn't get their break because, you know, Fairbanks came into town to make up those extra games. So he didn't like it. Hopefully doesn't mess with the momentum. They're in the tournament no matter what. So embrace it, get healthy, and let's rock and roll.
Yeah. I think they do need to win this one, though, because you don't want to have a bye, lose a game, have a bye, go into the tournament. So
yeah.
Just saying. that is a concern if they come out of this weekend not playing well. Is that extra bye weekend going to the tournament not something any coach wants?
Yeah. Randy, are you working on anything this weekend? I'm guessing you're probably working more for the women's tournament this weekend.
Well, yeah, I actually have, I have a men's story and preview coming up, and a women's story and preview coming up, obviously, and been doing some wild stuff too. I'm helping out on that beat, kind of the backup role on that beat behind Sarah McClellan, who's does a really nice job with it. And then I got some Gophers wrestling I'm working on. Their NCAAs are next week, so I'll be doing a preview for that coming up on Gable Stevenson. They it's kind of nice. They hand me some sports that are right up my alley, so it works out pretty good. Football, hockey, wrestling. So I can't complain about that whatsoever.
Hey, you're keeping busy, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, it is. It's fun time of year. It's it's the old the line from Roadhouse. I'll sleep when I'm dead, right?
And Viggs, I know you were thinking about putting some things together, weren't you too?
It's been a little bit tricky to get some availability out of this Gopher squad lately. So this going to be what you're going to be getting is our podcast and maybe something as we get closer. We'll see. It's been a tight ship over there lately.
Hey, that's just how things go.
They're focused.
We just roll with it. Well, Randy, thanks for coming on the podcast again. It was fun having you on.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's a blast. It's always fun talking some hockey with you guys.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more hockey in overtime in just a bit. But for now, that's going to do it for this episode of the GPL podcast. I want to thank Randy for coming on and joining us again. We'll be back next week to discuss what's next for the Gophers. Will it be, the Big Ten championship game like we're hoping? Or is our next game where we'll be talking about the NCAA tournament? We'll just have to wait and see. For those of you watching, stay tuned for a little bit of overtime. For the rest of you, we'll catch you next week on the GPL podcast. And there's the pour.
There's the pour. GPL podcast beer of the week.
Hold on. Let me get you centered there.
Comes to our friends from the Ukraine.
Nice.
This is a Levitsky Ukrainian porter.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. 8%. My buddies over at Stinson Wine, Beer, and Spirits wanted to support Ukraine. And there's no better way for the GPL podcast to support Ukraine than with drinking beer. So cheers. I don't know like the Prost or Slante or whatever in Ukrainian, but I'm sure it'll taste good just the same.
There you go.
Well, their Viggs, I'll toast you with somebody PA.
Oh, nice.
I've got water.
This is brewed with craftsmanship. I think, is it from Kiev or Carlsberg helps brew this apparently.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a shorter podcast just because, it's not a lot to go over and one game, and which I'm fine with. I am totally fine with it. I'm going to go grab a refill myself. Talks amongst yourselves.
No, I'm kind of looking forward to it. Just looking from afar, watching seeing how the NCAA shakes out. It's interesting that you're two of the Frozen Four teams from last year. One of them's not going to make their semifinals.
I know.
Yeah, that's and it's a couple pretty decent teams. I mean, it's where the league shook out this year. So
yeah, I think part of that league is it's hard to develop new players.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to do that on the fly, you're in trouble. And North Dakota really rated that portal to fill their lineup.
Yeah.
You know, like they made a lot of right calls there.
Driscoll, especially.
Yeah. I mean, they've really lucked out there. I don't know. I wonder if that's going to be any kind of model for some other teams when they have early departures, if they just start looking for transfers.
I think they will. You know, I think it's another part of recruiting. You see it in college football. It's, you know, college football no longer is just going to be that high school signing day. It's going to be who you get, you know, the 5, 6, 7, 8 players you bring in that can make an impact. I mean, for the Gophers, it worked out pretty well with the guys they brought in last year.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to pick up DeRitter? Michigan State senior Drew DeRitter to the transfer portal. Was he a senior? What year is he?
I imagine he has his COVID year left to you know, to use.
Kind of can do what he wants, can he?
Yeah, I would assume he goes through a pretty decent program. Some, you know, guys like him, you know, that he's got a skill set. He can kind of pick his team, much like Driscoll did with North Dakota.
Yeah.
But it's close the guy here now, Viggs, too. I mean, we're thinking when LaFontaine left, oh, what? We got to find a goalie for next year. Got to find a goalie for next year. Now it's more like, is somebody like a Boynton going to leave?
Well, I mean, is Bartoskevich going to leave?
Yeah.
Is he long for the program? I have no idea.
Both of them have full eligibility left. This could be a redshirt year if they don't play.
Yeah. Because I think they'll both have red shirts, so they're not going to be impacted by this year. I don't know. I mean, the Boynton thing is just baffling, you know, how that's shaken out. So, and none of the goalies in their pipeline are ready to come in.
But what is the pipeline? Bartoskevich was the pipeline. Or one of the pipelines.
Yeah, Gino Pashora, who's not even playing in major junior hockey for USHL or NHL. He's in the USPHL.
Yeah.
Like the Blue Ox kind of level that Bruce Boudreau set up, you know, pay to play. That's not a good path.
No, that's not.
That's a path to go play, you know, club hockey, not Big Ten hockey.
Well, is this an area that Matsko's got to work on, Viggs?
Yeah, I think they've got to really focus on what do they look at in a goalie recruit and how do they figure that out, because goaltending recruiting has been hard at Minnesota, and I don't know if it's because high school goalies in Minnesota don't exactly develop at the right pace for a team like Minnesota to recruit or what, but it's definitely been a blind spot for many, many years for them. And I don't know if they have a goalie in the two that are on the roster besides Close. I mean, how lucky are they that Close has turned out to be this good, right?
This could have been a huge disaster.
No one was telling me that this kid's going to come in and compete for the net. They're like, yeah, he's a good Saskatchewan junior goalie who wants to be at Minnesota, not he's going to battle for the net. You know, this isn't quite like the doctor's kid coming in to be a practice goalie, but it wasn't far from it. Right?
I don't think he's a superstar, Viggs. I don't think. I think a lot of it is in the team in front of him, but I think the team in front of him playing better has even built his confidence as well, and that's huge.
And maybe you don't need like a superstar type goalie at Minnesota. Maybe you just need someone who's more of a college goalie. You know, Tim here in the chat is talking about Carson Mustard. I'm thinking maybe Carson Mustard might still be going to the WHL. He's drafted by Portland and has a good relationship with them, and he's done some camps with them. I think he's in the U.S. national development team because that's a great place to to play and develop. You look at high school goalies in Minnesota, especially a guy like Mustard. He wasn't from a good hockey community really, so he was looking for a place that was a little more challenging for him. Maybe that's the path that he wants to go, as major junior or something like that. So it's hard to tell. Goalie recruiting is voodoo magic. I don't know how the good ones do it, because I was St. Cloud. I don't think Bob necessarily did all the recruiting there. He leaned on some goalie coaches to help him find guys and pick guys. So it's tough. I'm not going to pretend I know. What were you going to say, Randy?
Well, they had some pretty good ones at St. Cloud too while he was there.
Right. And I'm trying to think who Dave Rogalski, who's now in the NHL as a goalie development coach. He was kind of the connection that steered Bob towards these recruits and kind of steered them to St. Cloud. I think that's how that was working. I don't think Karl Popper was the one picking these goalies for Minnesota. And now Brennan Porzoy, the current volunteer coach, he's a little more under the radar with his goalie coaching. I don't know how invested he is in out like finding possible recruits and things like that. But I would think with the voodoo world of goaltending, that's how you'd want to do it, is have goalie experts finding goalies for you.
Interesting observation by N. Johnson. They seem to care a bit more about the team and not being individuals since LaFontaine left. And I've even noticed a lot of the individuals have been kind of praising their teammates about team defense and setting them up for goals and whatnot.
I have to agree there. I think the team dynamic has changed a little bit over the last couple of weeks. Definitely feels that way. That we have what we need. We need what we have motto.
Yep, I love that.
I think it's a good one for this program, and everybody seems pretty invested in seeing this thing out.
Just looking at the chat. What other questions you guys have tonight? Throw them at us. Let's see what you got.
I'm a little bummed to see Minneapolis hockey down 3-1.
Yeah, it's just something. I'll notice that. They're on the power play right now. Maybe they can cut it.
My guy Joe Dzik, pulling for him.
What's the period?
Third period.
Oh.
6 minutes left.
Sorry, I haven't been paying attention. At least it's a closer game. The games weren't so bad. Well, what was it? The 7-1 game was not great, but the other ones were not as bad as they could have been for a first day games.
Definitely there.
I was surprised Mankato East hung in there as much as they did with Mahtomedi. I was expecting that one to not be close at all.
Mm-hmm.
Especially after all those East kids showed off their facial hair and hockey hair, and Mahtomedi had 2 Teen Wolves.
My gosh. They had some of those guys had more facial hair I've ever had total in my life. You add up all the stubble I've had. This is ridiculous.
So I'm just checking into my beer as well.
So what are you guys thinking?
Process.
What are you guys thinking attendance wise?
I'm hoping the students come back early from spring break because they've got all 5 sections open for hockey or for that end for the playoffs. And the students were that Friday night against Wisconsin when it was almost full 30 minutes before the game.
That was impressive.
I have never seen that at Mariucci. Even back in your day, did it fill up that quickly, Viggs?
No. I've never seen it fill up like that for Warmies. And that's why I was asking the players about it after the game, because I'm just like, that's not Minnesota. Mostly student crowds at Minnesota are going to Sally's or, BigTen and having a couple of drinks at Frat Row and then stumbling to the arena trying to get there for puck drop. you don't usually have fans in the building that early. Pretty impressive.
But it was that way with football too.
Yeah.
They showed up. It's been a really nice story this year in those two sports. I haven't seen what basketball's been like, but I'm sure it's been decent.
Hasn't been as good for whatever reason.
Well, they stink.
I mean, they've been better than I think we thought they were going to be.
They finished last in the Big Ten, though.
With a bullet, I mean, they were pretty competitive early on, at least.
No, Composer's saying someone on GPL said there's single seats left. I think some of the sections have some single seats left.
Yeah. So, I tell you what, it's better than it's been for any of the Big Ten playoff games so far. So
we're not going to see a Michigan.
We're not going to see Michigan. And I don't think we're going to see regular season Penn State crowd either. Like, I think we're going to see a legit crowd. Maybe not Wisconsin, but
I wasn't. I was on the road, obviously, in the early part. How did they do when they had? How was it? I mean, I know what they announced, but how was it? People in the seats wise when they had Duluth and St. Cloud in the building.
I was not impressed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I don't have my scan data, but I think it's in that 6,000 to 7,000 range. It was not a very loud, invested building. It's so weird that hockey has the season that it does, where there's almost no focus on Gopher men's hockey at the start of the year. It's very much elsewhere, even though
the season's too long.
I don't know. Like, I knew this had a lot of talent on this team. I was excited to see how those teams are going to match up, and for pairwise implications, those are big weekends.
But if they're in October, it's people don't necessarily have hockey on their mind yet.
Let me see. Yeah, North Dakota's here October 21st and 22nd. That'll be a sign if Gopher hockey is back, I think, Viggs.
Yeah.
But you know what? The U needs to make a big deal out of it.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that's right in the heart of football season.
Well, I mean, what changes this is that their season ticket base comes back. People almost feel like they're not forced to go, but it's on their calendar. They're going. There are people between the blue lines who don't use their tickets, but I think the people in the corners, the blue collar ones, are going to use their tickets. So
you said 21st and 22nd for that North Dakota series?
Yep.
Okay, that's I was just looking the football teams at Penn State that weekend.
There you go.
Make a big deal of it then.
So this is on the U. The U needs to make a big deal out of it. Push, push, push. I mean,
definitely.
I know their marketing team won't even be thinking about it, Vig. So maybe
they don't have a marketing team to think about it.
Well,
if football sold their tickets and they didn't have to push as hard to sell those tickets, they could turn their attention to hockey. But Randy, that ticket office, like, it's Mike Wiersbicki and a bunch of, low-paid people, students, interns, and then some, mercenaries who are just trying to sell tickets for themselves. It's not a well-oiled machine, and they've had to cut back because of COVID and their budgets too. So as much as we want to see them make a big push, I think their best way is that if they're going to be short on tickets, let in as many students as you can let in.
Yeah.
Because if the students showed up for that Wisconsin game, showed up for early season North Dakota type games, that would make a huge difference.
Wow. Yeah.
Right?
Yep, definitely.
And then all of a sudden it feels like Duluth, St. Cloud, Engelstad, with their student fans filling the buildings early. And maybe that will carry carry on because football fans were there early till the end. So
Do we know what the schedule looks like at all leagues right now? We know. We know they're playing North Dakota. We think Colorado College might be coming at some point.
Thought I remember.
I mean, they were coming, and
Because I mean, it was a home and home. We played out in Colorado a couple years ago.
Minnesota's supposed
And
to
then
go to
COVID and
Arizona
everything
State.
messed up.
They're
Yeah, I
supposed to go to
wonder-
Arizona-
Yeah.
Wonder too with the coaching change at CC if the new coach didn't want to, because Bob was pretty tight with Haviland.
I'd love to see them come here. Yeah, it's been a little quiet. And we don't know what happened to resolve all the COVID stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to FOIA my way into the schedule, and nothing was signed a month ago. So this is my third time asking for signed contracts for men's hockey, and I keep getting the same contracts back. So they just must have that same zip folder ready for me to hand off.
Well, at least you don't have the trouble getting like the scan ticket data like you used to.
Right. They know what to
They
do
just
for that.
expect it.
Yeah. I mean, I've tried getting the contracts from the other schools too, and they are saying the same thing. Like they don't have signed agreements yet. So I've gone to CC and Arizona State and North Dakota, and I have a pretty good relationship with UMD and Minnesota State.
Oh, here it's 4-1 now.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
empty netter.
But hey, Viggs, Micheletti totally listened to your advice for
Yeah.
Beyond the Pod. Randy, last week we had Pat Micheletti on,
Mhm.
and during overtime, and Viggs like, you got to get Dietzich on Beyond the Pod. He'd be a great guest. Sure enough, he had Dietzich on.
Good.
Way to go, Viggs.
Well,
You're an influencer.
influencer. Like I coached with Joe for like a year and a half, back when he took the SPA job for Craig Norwich. So that was kind of a fun experience to get to know him a little bit and see his coaching style. And he's done a great job at Minneapolis. Too bad that they're going to drop this one, but kind of a huge challenge for him is to keep kids from going to private school. That southwest area of Minneapolis, a lot of kids aren't going to go to the public high schools. So he's gotten some kids to buy in there, which is good for him. Fun to see hockey in the city.
Where are they going, Viggs? Are they going to a Holy Angels? Are they trying to go to like a...
They go all over. Benil,
Okay.
Holy Angels, Blake, Breck. Not too many at St. Paul Academy. There's a couple. It's going to happen. It's not all for sports. We have a nice little thread going on the high school hockey about youth associations and players and leaving their associations, go other places. All these choices are complicated. And I know there's some recruiting that happens, but it's more just mutual interest. If a kid grows up having mutual interest in the high school program where he would go to, that's recruiting too. PJ Fleck talks about this all the time. It's like you're always recruiting your own players.
Yeah.
Because kids have so many options these days. Those kids, they're not indentured servants to your program someday. They have choices. They can leave.
And then, especially now with the transfer portal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, open enrollment in high school.
It's not rural high school. Yeah.
It's not just private schools. There's a lot of options these days. So
I was happy to get that text from you a couple of days ago, Viggs. My Jaguars, what was it, Pee Wee making it to state or something like that?
yeah, the Pee Wee A for the Powder Blues. They've got some people there that are making things happen in their youth hockey association. Like they have good numbers again, all the way down to mites to Pee Wees. And they've got some people who do summer training in the off season that have a Jefferson background and they want to give back to their communities. That's what it takes, man. It's just developing as many players as you can for as long as you can.
I'll be rooting for Pancrats and Prior Lake in the state tournament tomorrow.
He's got
Jefferson
a good group.
They are pretty good.
That Alex Bump, whew, big boy player. Watch him tomorrow night or tomorrow, whenever they're playing. I'm actually getting to go to the games for the first time in a while.
You going to both?
Both sessions.
Nice.
Yeah. Going on the yard sale.
Do they send you down there at all, Randy?
I won't be there this year. No, I've got enough going on.
Would they credential you, Randy?
When I was doing the puck drop, stuff. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
The Russo thing, yeah.
Yeah, the MSHL is very strict with their credentials.
Yeah, no, they are. They are.
It's they had not heard of the Athletic, maybe.
Wow, that was interesting. But yeah, David LeVake running the show there. I mean, does an outstanding job.
Yes.
David does good work.
Please tell me Roman's still around.
He's on the copy desk. he hasn't retired yet.
Roman's one of my favorites. He just was. And every time I see you, I think of Roman, just because I just well, one thing, you could always get down to post game a lot quicker than him.
Oh, okay, yeah. I haven't had. I haven't. I used to edit some of the stuff when I was on the desk, but I didn't know about. I didn't know how quick he was and stuff.
He was fun. He was fun. We had a lot of fun with Roman. It was good times. And does the Pioneer Press send anybody anymore?
Well, they use Jess's coverage.
Yeah,
and then John Shipley, on occasion will be at a men's game, and not that often. He's been covering the women in this stretch.
Yeah, when we first started getting credentialed in the mid 2000s, Bruce Brothers from the Strip, not from the Strip, from Pioneer Press, was there for quite a few years. Every year, every game, and then there were cuts everywhere.
Yeah, their staff is so threadbare. You look at Andy Greeter. My God, the guy works his tail off.
Andy is worth a subscription.
Oh yeah,
he covers a lot of stuff. He does a really good job. I like Andy, professionally, personally, all that stuff.
Yep,
he does a good job.
But that's kind of the job, though, isn't it? Now, Randy. I mean, staffs have been cut so much.
I would say we're
dedication is.
I mean, look at what Randy's doing. Randy's doing everything right now.
Well, yeah, but it's not. It's
we're Pioneer Press.
We're a lot. We're pretty lucky at the StarTribune. We're still pretty well staffed comparatively to a lot of papers. So knock wood. It's nice having a billionaire as an owner. It really is. So
he's not selling that to A-Rod, right?
No, not
yet. Don't give him any ideas.
Yes, yeah. So, no, we're pretty. We just got done sending Rachel Blount and Lavelle Neal to the Olympics. That's a big commitment. So yeah, we're allowed to still, they've invested pretty well in the product, in us doing, some good, some very good journalism, I would say, and sometimes that takes a big financial commitment like the Olympics, or we pretty much travel, I wouldn't say like Marcus doesn't go on the road for every Gophers game, but he goes on the road for a decent number of Gophers basketball games. We don't travel hockey, obviously, like for regular season like we used to, but back in the day when the paper was flush with cash and 80s, 90s, early 2000s. But last year I got to go to both the Loveland Regional and the Frozen Four. So hopefully that's a similar situation this year.
I enjoyed Rachel's coverage at the Olympics, and And not, but it also her Twitter when she'd be just talk about the other things, like how bad the food was, and just things like that.
Jeez.
And how locked down they were. It sounds like it was just kind of crazy.
Yeah, it was. It was Lavelle's first Olympics, so it was an eye opener for him. You know, he's he's a fun guy, and it was a challenge to have fun sometimes for him. You know, so he loved the experience.
Yeah, I've always liked Rachel's coverage. I have my one point of disagreement with her coverage of St. Thomas's elaborate plan to move to D1 versus the Mayak narrative. I've been vocal about that in the past.
Uh-huh.
And then the way that Mark Coyle's handling the athletic department budget is a big picture philosophy,
Sure. Yeah.
which I think is counter to what she thinks college athletics should be about. So it's differences there. I can have differences, but I really like her writing. It was always fun to see her and Don talk college hockey when she'd come by Marriott Arena, and she does a great job.
Oh, yeah.
She's a great writer.
Oh yes, I've always enjoyed her stuff, and here's the thing: Gopher hockey is coming back when Patrick Royce has been to Mariucci media availability twice this year.
Yeah. He might have been there 3 times.
You think so?
I think he's been there 3 times.
He likes Bob.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
He
did do more St. Cloud stuff when he was at St. Cloud. So
Yep. So Bob's such a likable guy. I mean,
he is.
I sometimes think Bob didn't know what he was getting into, though, when he took the job. In terms of
come on, he knew. I mean, he knew what the media stuff and all this. He was here.
You'd think so. I think it's a little bit of a surprise here at times about how much interest there is in what he says and how he says it, and the messaging that has to come out of the program. I mean, anytime you're at a place like Minnesota, you're almost half CEO, half coach.
Yeah.
Like you have to be able to delegate some stuff so that you can do the massaging and the messaging overall with your program. Because it's a challenge to figure out that fan base and fill the arena again. I mean, if they can hang on to these students, that'll be huge for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a big key, so keep these students interested. So, then when they're done, like you've even discussed this, Vigs, give them a break, as graduates.
Well, they do have young alumni season ticket packages that are cheaper. I just don't know how well they promote it. Like they have cheaper season tickets for staff and faculty at the U, but it's not really promoted very well. I think those are some ways that that you can maybe capitalize on this and not only improve their workforce maybe, but also fill their fan base a little bit. Well, we do have a lot of Just Bob moments that have been great last couple of years. So. That's right, Ryan.
Well, I've always got my favorite one. It's always queued up here.
I wish there was one less mistake tonight that we weren't talking about right now.
Can you give us anything on Walker injury, disciplinary, anything like that? Just curious.
Are you crazy? I mean,
I'm going to keep that one permanently queued up here.
Next year, I'm telling you, I'm going to try to get some sounders from all of our, press conferences, guests. We'll have a real big show outro. Big time. We'll be big time here. It's one of these days.
Oh boy. I just the look on him as he looks over at you. He's like, what is this guy? And then you hear me giggling in the back.
I get that a lot. It's fun. It's fun. I missed being there Tuesday.
He does tend to do that, Biggs. If Jess asks a dumb thing, he looks over at you and says, "Please ask me something smart."
Oh, my favorite was and it wasn't it's just his personality when when Chip Scoggins had that big big series on Austin high school basketball and all, the whole demographics change in there. And Bob came to the press conference that Tuesday wearing his old high school jacket. That was cool as hell. Got a lot of pride. He got a lot of pride in his hometown. And that's cool that he took his team down there.
Yeah, I think that's good for them to have that connection. Austin is quite the melting pot of Minnesota, so it's cool to have that connection.
Wasn't Craig Dahl from there as well? I thought he was. There wasn't somebody else who was from Austin. Maybe the people listening.
Maybe.
In the chat. There's always a good 20-second delay. So I thought someone else was from Austin.
I mean, there's a lot of people from Austin, but
well, yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Smart ass.
That was kind of funny.
John Madden.
John Madden.
I like how we were all asking, or not all of us, but he was being asked about John Madden all the time. He's like, "Oh yeah, from Austin." He's like, "Yeah, that's great." And then there was some other coach.
Because he was born there and he left.
Yeah, there was some other coach that was up for like the Green Bay GM job or something like that. Somebody was up for a GM job who was from Austin.
Great house from Mankato. Gosh, I thought somebody else was from Austin. Like, bad memory.
I was just looking at the doing like a preview of the Penn State series or semi and looking for the Minnesota connections on their roster. Keith Fisher, their assistant coach, went to St. Cloud State, and I was looking for his hometown. And I had never heard of this home place called Zim, Minnesota.
Just Zim?
ZIM. It's up north.
Oh, Vega's getting his Google on.
Yeah, Zim's pretty small.
Must be
Zimmerman, obviously, but not Zim.
Zim. ZIM.
Wow. Well, there you go.
Yep.
Population 20.
Well, that's why I never heard of it.
Oh, jeez.
That's what Wikipedia is telling me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where's the map go? Or what is it? Where is it? What does it show it on the map?
Yeah, it's up at Northwest St. Louis County.
Oh, okay.
It's near Eveleth.
Okay, up that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he probably went to Eveleth and stuff and just wanted to be cool.
I was thinking it might have been way up and up by Thief River or someplace like that.
No.
Unincorporated, probably Virginia. Oops, not that one. Martin Zeller's from Austin, apparently. Oh, boy. Yeah, I just don't. I was never a big John Madden guy. I don't know why.
I played a lot of the video game. That's right in my era.
Never played it once. I never did the Madden.
Yep, a lot of Madden. A lot
The
of
last
NHL
football,
94.
the last game I played for football was literally Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah, a lot of Madden, a lot of NHL 94, a lot of Golden.
NHL, yeah, I played the NHL games.
That's my generation right there.
Mine's a little older than that. Mattel Football 2.
The handheld.
Oh yeah.
Green.
I played that a lot. Boy, you get your finger going, your thumb as fast as you can.
And there was
we had the football and we had the baseball.
My son's got the hockey game, like the blue and white with the red LEDs.
Mm-hmm.
You got to pass the puck, and there's penalties and stuff. He's into that. We've had that for some long car rides. It's a lot of beeping noises.
Yeah, they didn't make it for Atari. Of course, we all had it. Well, I had Atari. But they didn't have sports games for Atari back then. Well, they might have had basketball.
They
It was
had
really
some.
bad.
My brother was an
8-bit.
Atari guy.
Yeah, we had Atari, and then I had, I think, a Super Nintendo.
I had the Apple IIe where I had some games besides Number Crunchers.
I had an Apple IIc. Yep. Apple IIc.
Okay, I'm having one more beverage.
Okay.
First last.
Because I can't go late. I can't go late tonight because I'm tired.
Okay, first last.
I think I'm gonna bug out, guys. I was up at this 6:30.
Thanks for joining us then, Randy. You can bug out.
No, I had an MRI on my knee this morning, so it's like I was up.
That's a long day.
Yeah,
There you go.
It was, but,
Well, thanks for joining us, Randy.
Thanks for
We'll
thanks
catch
for-
you. We'll see you this weekend, hopefully.
Wait, I got one question.
Mhm.
Rusty, most
Rusty.
famous appearance on a Zoom call the last 2 years.
Oh.
Most famous appearance, maybe most embarrassing.
No, everything else has been work related. Has been like a work. And I've done like when I've had like when we were doing Zooms last year after games because of COVID.
Yeah.
I'd put them in the bedroom, because I didn't want to get video bombed by the cat. No,
Yeah.
I could have done that tonight, but hey, this is a little informal. So
I was wondering if Rusty's ever jumped on the keyboard and maybe hung up for you or has drawn the attention of an interview. Like I could imagine PJ just going off on cats for a while. Maybe he's got some sort of allegory story.
Whenever I have anything official, that's somebody with a much higher pay grade than me, I make sure. Okay, here you go. Here's a little food. You got access to the bathroom. You're good. You're good for an hour.
Because I've had pets, if they get put in a room and the door gets shut, it's just like you hear the howling.
Oh yeah, he's not too chill. He's chill. He's
okay.
Yeah, it's I didn't expect him. Sometimes he just hears a different voice, like on these videos, and it's like, oh, wait,
Who's over?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
is there a warm lap to sit in?
Yeah. So.
No, we've house sat for some cats, and I'm allergic to them, and we still, for some reason, they're allowed in the house. I don't know. It's weird. Things you do for love.
So we know who runs the house, not you.
I run counterclockwise around my house so fast. So there's a reason we do this at 9:30.
Yeah.
But I appreciate
thanks, Randy,
you
for coming on. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, it worked out good. I was basically working up till about here, working on stuff in advance, and it's worked out great. So anytime. But
maybe I will see you Saturday.
Yep. I'll see you guys this weekend. I'll be at the women's game and then get done there, and I'm just gonna hop over to the men's game. And hell, I was telling Deutsch that if you got room, he thought you probably will in case. And I go, well, if you don't, I'll just get a ticket or just go in and sit.
You could just walk across underneath and just.
I mean, I'd be going
credential.
If I weren't working, I'd be going to that game anyway.
There you go.
I've seen Randy at a few football games with a beverage in hand.
Not since I've.
Not since you've been working. Not since you've been recovering.
It's been a while since I've been there as a fan.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen Randy in the wild.
Oh yeah, the wild. Yeah, in the wild. Yeah,
in the wild with beers, not writing.
You know where you saw me? You saw me up at the
club room,
Mariucci.
Yeah,
because I had my that was in 2000 when I had my shoulder surgery. So I
feel like I saw you on the plaza once.
No, that might have been the case too. That might have been the case.
Stalking each other.
So, but no, I went with a buddy. I was still in my sling and stuff because I had that rotator cuff.
Yeah.
So yeah,
hard to hold a beer. I'm keeping you late, but the walkabout is a Minnesota tradition at sporting events. You got to walk about.
Oh yeah.
See who you know.
Yep. No, that's great.
Be
Cool, guys.
seen.
Be seen.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll have a good one. We'll see you. See you Saturday for sure.
Sounds good.
All right. See you, Randy.
Yeah, bye now.
I bet Jupe had ColecoVision. I did not. My dad did, though.
I'll be right back. I'm
Do
thirsty.
you know what ColecoVision is? Oh, you won't be able to hear us now. I did not have ColecoVision. The 2E was good, but my mom bought the computer, so we had the 2C. Now I'm kind of wishing I would have kept it, but you know how it is. I think it would be fun to pop up those players again. Okay, force quit. Have Rusty on next week.
Yeah.
Oh, another beverage.
Size 7, if you know me. Tell me you listen to Gopher Puck Live without telling me you listen to Gopher Puck Live. Most underrated brewery.
I was not an Oregon Trail wizard. I sucked at it just like everyone else.
Do you know they put that in the Apple Arcade?
Did they really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's super fancy.
Since I had
super fancy version of Oregon Trail.
Since I have I like Apple TV and I have Apple Music. I did the
one package or whatever.
One of the one things, and I get games. I should go look that up.
I lost a good month.
Oh boy. So Tim was asking about changes on GPL earlier.
Yeah, this is a good time for that.
And I wasn't going to do that with Randy on because I'm going to bore him.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm trying to make changes. We're trying to move us over to another. Let me see if I can get this here. Another message board software. There we go. I'll select this. And let me see if this brings it up so people could see this. Okay. Can you see it there, Viggs? So this is the new portal page I've been working on, but I'm going to do something real quick. I won't be able to see the screen here, Viggs. Can you see it okay?
I can see it just fine.
Okay.
First, I kind of know what I'm looking for already on there.
Yeah, you kind of do too, because I did say
yeah.
But for one thing, I am going to be changing the theme a bit. And I've been working on this, trying to make things look. So this is what it's going to more look like. It's going to be more colors, buttons, things are a little different. But
do you have a model, like someone who already does this that you like? Have you looked for that? I'm kind of a cheater when it comes to certain things. And I'll look for something close to what I like, and then I'll investigate it and be like, okay, these are the things I like about this page or this setup or this story or this. And I'll be like, I'm going to steal some of that.
So actually, if you go to GPL right now, the home pages, it'll look like this because I just switched it over. It won't be on the message board, but this is more native to, more native to the theme that I purchased for WordPress. I mean, these menus are all based off a theme, whereas now the theme, the whole menu, none of that that's all custom stuff. I still have this going. Sorry, let me turn this off. Runs a little better when I'm not in that mode. So yeah, this is the new portal, putting things together. One thing I like about this, Viggs, is that now I can integrate articles and stuff. Mm-hmm. I can integrate all that other content that was not part of the message board. Obviously, I've got links to, Chris's articles that he wrote this past, recently. I can pull in the next upcoming games automatically. I've got the last podcast and this will automatically update. So I can integrate those kind of things. That's what I couldn't do before. The forum, you and I have been playing with the forum a little bit. And, people are donating right now to get some things that we'd like to add.
Generous community that is Gopher Puck Live.
Yeah. So the message board is pretty basic, but here, it's not going to look a ton different. Obviously, it's slowly loading for us because we're doing this over video, but hopefully have things like voting up and down stuff.
You can still put your icons in there and your GIFs and.
Yeah, you did that, and I've where was that other thread?
Mention people, which is a fun feature.
Yeah, the only thing is that right now I'm working on. Here, I was testing other features, posting links. I think I was posting videos, making sure that worked.
Make sure there was an autoplay,
an at mention. Things like that. One thing, this user menu shows up once you log in. I'm working on the profiles now. I'm not liking it right now. There's a photo I took.
A little scared.
Well, the funny thing is with this profile photo thing, you could literally take a photo from your webcam right there. And that's what I did. You can see I'm sitting in the same spot I am right now. So I'm working on this. One of the problems I'm running into that I'm trying to get fixed right now is that you notice, were you getting a bunch of emails about stuff, Vigs?
Yeah.
There's these little email settings. They're all defaulting to yes.
No, that's a no-no.
Yeah. You have to I switched yours over and I switched mine over.
Thank you.
And I'm like, okay, there's got to be a global way to do this because I'm not going to import 2,500 users.
And then start doing that.
Yeah, and not be able to do it. So this is part of the whole process of getting through and making
Is there a database that you have access to that has all this stuff?
I do have the database. I haven't done anything in SQL in so long.
I do a little SQL.
Well, maybe I'll get you because I was actually looking at the SQL because they're just fields.
Yeah.
And we could probably globally set them to do that.
Right. There might be some configurations
but really,
stored in the database level.
The fonts are a little different with this,
which I think is fine.
Yeah, it takes a while to load here, but I just really like how the message board. I couldn't do anything with the portal anymore, and that is a huge part of the entire thing. Is the portal? People go there as their starting point, and the fact that I can put more stuff on it and be a little more flexible is kind of nice. So.
Can people customize their portal widgets?
Nope.
No, you set it?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. I'm just going to set it because that was actually part of what I was trying to do for the PHP message board, but it's just got to be, they weren't updating the new portal software. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons, like, when I want to go update something now, I literally go up here and I click buttons to update. So here's the whole back end, folks. I literally go to I can go to a plugin and I can install them, uninstall them. Everything else with PHP was manual, but all the updates are right here. I just literally click buttons and it updates. Obviously I'm all up to date on everything. So that's good. So it's kind of what it looks like right now. And I'll just keep plugging away on it. And try to get things, obviously a little different banner at the top, but switch it back right now. So it's not, if people, when I'm working on it, I do switch it over, but not as many people are on that part of the site. Most people are on the message board, and you're not going to see that on the message board. But once we move over, it will all look like that. Same menu, same everything. Activate, publish. Well, it's a lot slower when I'm actually sharing my screen. See, this whole top part of this is not part of WordPress. This is all custom code I did years ago.
Okay.
And but now it'll be all integrated. So when I need to add a menu item, it's super easy. Even you could add a menu item. So getting any comments I haven't been able to see here. Okay, I see
Thanks, Steve. Thanks. Commit.
Yeah, you're not wrong there, Steve.
Yeah.
it's not far from that. So that's kind of a preview. I want to get as much down as I can because that email thing. I was like, why am I getting all these damn emails for everything? Yeah. I was testing, mentioning something. I'm like, this is annoying. So yeah, if you remember your sequel at all, I could probably figure it out.
Right.
It's just been so long since I haven't done sequel stuff in probably 10 years. It gets a little rusty.
It does. It takes time.
But yes, I should. There was 12 or 13 selections that would all be set to turn on, and that's one of the reasons why I want to get. People are donating right now, so I can get the plugin to be able to do a lot of the things that we're so used to having. Like when you click on it, it brings you to the first unread post.
Yeah, that's a nice.
That's a huge thing.
Yeah,
that is annoying if I can't do that. So I believe this plugin. I think it's going to work. Who do you guys have for AA? I haven't been paying attention. I'll root for Prior Lake just because of my boy Joe Pankratz is coaching, but
I do like Moorhead. I feel like
they think the Spuds can finally come through.
I think they.
I'd root for them.
I think they've got enough experience now, and like that current group of kids right now they have has done very well in like the Pee Wee AA, Bantam AA stuff coming up. So we will see, and I think their coach has gotten enough experience now. He's probably a little more familiar with how it's going to go. It's a fun tournament, though.
Who's their coach again?
I don't know, Jupe. I called him their coach because it's not coming to my brain right away.
See, all I can think of is Terry Cullen, who was the guy who brought their team to prominence. And obviously his kids are kind of good at hockey, too.
Mm-hmm.
One especially.
Even my preview doesn't have their coach's name, but I'm sure someone knows.
Dave Morin? Not Dave Morin.
He's a young guy, though.
I've seen a lot of coach faces I don't recognize recently.
Yeah, there's been some turnover in coaching. John Ammerman.
There you go.
So he's been doing it now for, at least a couple of years, and he's been good, and their whole development program up at Moorhead's been really good. And they've got a bunch of uncommitted players too.
New earbuds this week since this broke.
Woo. How'd they work?
Not too bad. The only thing is I cannot send my audio through to me because there's too much of a delay. It's literally like a quarter second, and I can't hear myself echo like that. That's plugged in, it was instant. The only thing is I might be able to repair these. The problem is they came apart here.
That's not good.
Yeah. But I ordered these, and they came a day later, so.
I know we got this question earlier. Gophers in the tournament. I think Jimmy Clark, Free Dyna might be the only one that I could think of that's committed. There's a lot of kids committed other places, and actually a lot of kids who are uncommitted. Like Bump is committed for Prior Lake, but no one else really is on that team. Lakeville, that Ludke
they are Bo's Billy.
Committed. Cretin, they just have one kid committed to Northern Michigan. Fisher, Hill Murray's got a God bout to Wisconsin, but uncommitted. Maple Grove's got Danny Nelson, who's a younger player who's fun to watch. Andover has a Knox, who's a player who's going to be someone to watch. So it's interesting. Used to be all these young kids would be committed right away, but now with the new recruiting and COVID, it's kind of been pushing back. So be interesting.
What the heck is going on with my memory here? Computer memory, not my brain. My brain is already fried.
Brain memory is a little low. Gonna have to erase some files.
Yeah. What the hell? Wait for my computer to crash. So if I just disappear, you know why.
Yep. I might not wait for you to come back. These 12-ounce steel toes, they go down so good. So good and so easy.
Trying to figure out it is literally. I'm having issues with freaking Chrome is just sucking up the memory right now. Damn Chrome. It happens though. Chrome is. I'm starting to get a little down on Chrome.
Okay.
It's maybe it's time to go back to something else because Chrome is just. It's just really sucking memory out. It's annoying.
Wasn't it designed to be like low memory for Chromebooks?
It was, but they've added so much crap to it.
Well, it's kind of become a standard browser.
It has, but
I still use Firefox for a lot of my.
I used Firefox for the longest time
until
it got too bloated. But maybe they've kind of gone back and fixed it now.
I don't know. Some of our enterprise apps that have to, use a browser, we tell them only to use Firefox.
That's actually
Chrome
similar.
is so experimental.
I use Firefox for some of our stuff, updating websites at 3M.
Yeah.
Because it's Steve, yeah. Maybe I need to. The only thing is, I'm not even sure the software would work for it. Do you use Firefox right now, or are you on Chrome?
I'm on Chrome for this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think we got to call tonight because I'm tired.
I know. I got a big day tomorrow. I haven't been to 4 hockey games in a day in a long time.
It's going to be awesome, man.
It's going to be
Make
sweet.
sure you tweet from there. Get some photos of the crowd and.
Yeah, might have to find that GPL trucker hat. Sport that baby. Yeah. Get the flow going.
Which one? That one?
Yeah.
Yeah, get the flow flowing up. That'd be good.
Yeah. So I'll see what I can do.
You can tell my video's getting jittery now too. Damn it.
I'll make my laps around the Excel. So I've got great seats. I'm down behind one of the benches, about 10th or 12th row, I think.
Yeah, Chrome is using 15 gigs of memory right now.
And one of these days, I'll figure out that video thing, that open studio stuff. Because I can get the video to work a little bit, but it's complicated. It's not very easy.
I might try to do this one, see if it works with Firefox. Let's see if that does any better.
All right,
we're gonna call it a night, folks.
Short shift. The Gophers going by. We take a short one.
Hey, that's fine with me.
We got to recover too.
We can't keep doing super long shows all the time.
That's right.
Even though we've done an hour and 43 minutes, that's still long. We used to do 5 and 10-minute overtimes. You remember those days?
I know. Well, it was different then too.
All right, folks.
Looking for use of this. All right.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Appreciate it. We'll have some more hockey to talk about, hopefully.
Later.